Hey everyone, today I'm going to talk about why I have these curling leaves on the Syngonium milk confetti. So recently I was out of town and I wasn't able to tend to the Syngonium forest that has developed over here. And as you can see, all the plants are super close together. Now this is good because I'm spreading this light across and they're also on light movers. Now they are individual plants, but as you can see, it would be really easy for things to transfer back and forth between plants. And typically Syngoniums don't really have a lot of issues. So when I came back home, I noticed that there was these kind of like rolled up leaves on these plants, and not just when the plant was unfurling, but multiple leaves on each plant were kind of rolled up. My first thought on the leaf curl was that it was either pest or it was some form of nutrient lockout. Sometimes magnesium or calcium deficiency can curl leaves and kind of twist them in weird ways, and also if your pH is off in the water reservoirs. But since that wasn't the case, I went to Pest and I started unrolling and looking in those leaves, and that's when I found the spider mites. Over here you have the fuzzy philodendrons, and as you know, if you watch the channel, I do love the majestics, the splendids, and the melanochrysum, but they do tend to carry a lot of spider mites. So what happened here is that spider mites from one of these fuzzy philodendrons kind of jumped over to this canopy of Syngoniums here. I think this is about 20 to 30 Syngoniums in here, about 8 feet long by about 4 feet deep. I wasn't able to spray these plants down consistently, as I preach on this channel to spray even if you don't see bugs, because many times things like this happen. And that's why you need to repeatedly spray, ideally twice a week. So now I'm going to give you the ideal recipe, and I'm going to give you guys a few secret ingredients that I add to this at the same time, because what I spray is applicable to almost every single houseplant pest. But at the end of the day, what I'm doing wrong is keeping these plants a bit too close together and not spraying regularly enough. So I'm going to start with a quart of water and 3% azadirachtin. It's super important to use high concentration azadirachtin. This is considered neem oil, but the most important ingredient inside of it is azadirachtin. I'm also going to show you an industrial way to apply this spray if you have a few hundred plants like I do. So I've got my dropper here and I'm gonna do 9 mLs of the azadirachtin. Okay, so I've got the 9 mLs of azadirachtin in here. Next up is one of my secret ingredients. This is essentially kelp or seaweed. This is a product we make here. I get the crappy end of the bottled line, so excuse the look of the bottle. But this is what we call root boost because it is heavy in potassium. So I only need a few drops of this, about half of an ml. And you can see this stuff change the color of the water quite quickly. And I'm adding this in here because I'm going to spray the neem, but this kelp isn't going to negatively interfere with that neem or the azadirachtin. So while I'm foliar spraying for the bugs, I'm also going to supplement for the other parts of the plant so that the plants can grow. This is called foliar feeding. You can feed a plant from the roots, but you can also feed a plant from the stoma or the stomata, which are located on the tops and the undersides of the leaves. And finally, the third ingredient is some Dawn dish soap. Just a drop or so. This will act as a surfactant on the leaf, and the water will be able to penetrate into the leaf better. So it's just a little bit of soap for that, but you can also use a little bit of oil. Coconut oil works for this also. Big fan of these commercial Zep spray bottles from Home Depot. It's worth spending the money on a good spray bottle so the head of the sprayer doesn't clog. So the way that you spray is not as straightforward as you might think. It is super important to spray the plant all the way around at all the different angles at which the pest could be residing. So if you have a leaf, you want to make sure to spray the bottom sides of it, the top sides of it, and at different angles of that same leaf. So using this plant as an example, I'm going to spray it on the hardest setting so I can mechanically use the physics of the water to knock off the bugs themselves. And I'm going to start and mainly focus on the bottom sides of the leaves. Honestly, just soak the plant. And sometimes it's a good idea to spray inside of the leca. Plant is simply in 100% leca mix, but I'm just going to douse it down, and this is for treatment. I know that some of these plants have a little bit of a pest, so I'm going to soak them and make sure I get into those rolled up leaf sleeves to make sure that neem is getting into those spider mites' mouths, and that's where it starts to actually affect them. Now, because I have a lot of plants, this is an industrial size fogger. It's called a Fog Master. It's pretty ancient. I think they're a few $100s, but I got this used actually. And how it works is simply put the solution into here and then turn on the switch here, and it's got a cable and it just sprays for you. So there's no hand pumping. This might be a good idea if you have a farm or a lot of space and a lot of plants. Just because the neem smells bad, make sure to use a mask. So those foggers are great if you have a lot of plants, but to be honest, I use this intermittently, and I really only use that fogger maybe once every 2 weeks, or if I have a bug outbreak and I need to do the whole area and kind of fog up this greenhouse with the neem, and you can really taste it in your mouth. So you're hoping that that's really getting into the bugs' mouths also, and I do notice the results. But this is what I'm using on the weekly. I usually neem on Monday and Thursday or Tuesday and Friday. So today's Friday, and I'm spraying again with this Zep. No affiliation to them, but it is the one spray bottle that actually works. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did enjoy it, please click the like button down below and consider subscribing. We try and provide free, useful houseplant content every week on Saturdays. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you next Saturday for another video. Have a good day.